Now, as the blame game persists, more details of Hamas's shocking invasion have emerged. They say the attack was the brainchild of a man called Mohammed Daif. Reports say he masterminded the entire attack. They say the attack was 2 years in the making. They've started planning for it in May 2021 after an Israeli raid on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. 2 years on, he executed the attack on the anniversary of the Yom Kippur War. So who exactly is this man? Here's what we know about him so far. Mohammed Daif is the head of Hamas's military wing, the Qassam Brigades. He is Israel's most wanted man and has survived 7 assassination attempts. These attempts have left the 58-year-old permanently confined to a wheelchair. He apparently also lost an eye and sustained injuries in his body because of Israel's assassination attempts. His wife, a 7-month-old son and a 3-year-old daughter were killed in an Israeli airstrike in 2014. Since then, he has been leading a shadowy existence, hiding in an underground maze of tunnel networks which he had built. Israeli security experts call him an arch-murderer who is worshipped by young Palestinians like a god. There are only 3 images of Daif, one in his 20s, one with him wearing a mask, and another image of his shadow. Israel is calling this man the new Osama bin Laden. It says it will release more details about him in the days ahead. Reports from Palestine claim that one of the homes that Israeli airstrikes hit in Gaza belonged to Daif's father. His brother and 2 other family members were killed in this strike. Last we checked, Israel had also launched an operation to hunt him down, but given the life of secrecy he leads, finding him is going to be a tough task. Next question, could the Israel-Hamas war become a multi-front one? Could this current conflict, which has already claimed countless lives, extend its reach to the West Bank? Might it then spill over to Israel's northern border with Lebanon, where the Hezbollah operates? And will this regional crisis escalate beyond proxy fighting to involve countries like Iran, Syria, and Yemen? Well, some analysts believe it is not only possible, but increasingly likely. And if they are right, we have a big problem at hand. Just take a look at Israel's map. Fierce shelling is taking place along its volatile borders. Although somewhat dim in comparison to the fighting taking place around Gaza, there have been continued clashes on Israel's northern border. Here, Israel has launched strikes at the Lebanon-based Hezbollah group. The shelling came in response to rocket fire from southern Lebanon into northern Israel. The shelling here has stoked fears of a repeat of 2006. Back then, Israel fought a bloody month-long war with Hezbollah. Hezbollah, as we have told you earlier, is the Shiite group that is committed to the destruction of Israel. The Lebanon-based group has also backed Hamas's attack on Israel. So now the shelling between Israel and Hezbollah in the northern borders has deepened unease over the possibility that the conflict could spread to other fronts. There were signs that this would happen. According to the Institute for the Study of War, an American non-profit research group, Israeli forces currently face a triple threat from militants, specifically those supported by Iran. It's not just Hamas. Israel faces threats from Hezbollah in the north, as I just told you, and Hamas's allies in the West Bank. Militants in neighboring Syria pose another possible threat. The Israeli army reported that it had identified a number of launches from Syria into Israeli territory, making it the first time that fire had been exchanged across that border since fighting erupted on Saturday. The Israeli military stated that the projectiles apparently fell in an open area and they had responded by firing artillery and mortar shells in return. It is becoming clear Israel is not only fighting Hamas around the Gaza Strip, but also its allies in Lebanon and Syria. In this backdrop, it is not surprising to see Hezbollah's provocations over the last few days. In the past too, Israel has witnessed this phenomenon of attacks from Lebanon, Syria, and even from Iraq during the May 2021 war. Israel also experienced earlier this year rocket fire from Lebanon during the Passover holiday. And then over the summer, there were escalating attacks from Jenin. So far, these attacks in the north have been small, but the slow drumbeat is picking pace, amplifying concerns about a multi-front conflict. So, can diplomacy stop the war? It seems unlikely. The Hamas attack on Saturday has sparked efforts by influential regional states, including Egypt, Turkey and the UAE. They're all trying to avert a destructive escalation. But despite talks, there is little hope for de-escalation. Just look at the figures. Israel has placed more than 100,000 troops near Gaza. More than 300,000 reservists have been called up, and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu looks set to order a ground invasion soon. Let's not forget the US, the UK, allies have all pledged support for Israel. They have vowed to stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel in its efforts to defend itself. The United States in particular has sent its USS Ford strike group to the Eastern Mediterranean. It is ready to assist Israel if the need arises. This deployment of America's newest and most advanced nuclear-powered aircraft carrier underscores the seriousness of Washington's commitment. Its capabilities to dwarf anything other than military force in the world, let alone Hamas or any group. It is an unmistakable warning to Iran and militant groups: do not dare enter into conflict against Israel. But in response, Iraqi and Yemeni armed groups aligned with Iran have issued a warning. They have threatened to target US interests with missiles and drones if Washington intervenes to support Israel. Like I said, these are telling indicators that the conflict may escalate into additional fronts. Members of the so-called Axis of Resistance, which consists of Iranian-backed factions, have issued threats. They are ready to escalate the conflict to expand across the region. Israel has readied itself for such an explosive scenario over the years. However, on October 7th, it was evident that Israel wasn't that prepared after all.